So welcome to another inmendham video presentation. I will today, by request, I hate request actually, but anyway, commentate on a stunning battle of epic yin-yang proportions between an idiot and a fucktard. Yes, it's going to be fun. I'll be the announcer and, I'll do the color commentary and stuff like that. But that's all it's going to be. It's just a mockery to human intelligence. Here we go. Let's make a mockery of our intelligence. Just demonstrate how brains are for flushing down toilets. Because people just don't know how to use one at all. Well, whatever. Can't really use it, I know. It's programmed. Be a way to blame them for being this stupid, though. Can't just be making excuses for it. Let's see, I have to make sure I have volume on. Is there volume on? Yeah, there's some volume. I probably need more volume, but we'll see. I'll fix that as I go along. Sorry, I should be ready for a video when I make one, but I should do a lot of things. And I have to work on that someday. So anyway, yes, we have nice graphics anyway. It's very colorful and such. So I'll hit the play button. We'll see what happens. An ad will happen. Yeah, I already know how that works.
Chapter 1.
Ah.
Our friend Chaos.
You know what I noticed? Nobody panics.
Oh, little silly movies. Okay, we do need more volume, much more. Please, thank you. That should help.
Things go according to plan. Even if the plan is horrifying.
Oh, we're all the way back to this bullshit. The stupidest movie ever made in the history of mankind, right? The master villain burns $10 billion. Because he wants to be chaotic. And he doesn't understand that he just made everybody rich. He just made everybody's life so much better by burning cash, which is like excellent for everybody who has cash in their wallet. They just got richer. So here he wants to cause chaos and problems. And he just fixed a whole bunch of people's problems because he's an imbecile as a master criminal. Yes, chaos people are stupid.
If tomorrow I tell the press that like a gangbanger will get shot, or a truckload of soldiers will be blown up, nobody panics.
Oh, I'm already falling asleep. I mean, this is just like so 1940s or something. Where's those like galactic rescuer people, with the little squirrel or whatever he was? Yeah, that's a good movie. Groot guy, yeah, very sympathetic.
Because it's all part of the plan. But when I say that one little old mare...
Oh, this is, even look at this makeup. Where the hell did they do this? This guy actually... His eyeball actually is doing that, and he's not going like, holy shit, my eyeball's sticking out. Come on. I mean, it's a really bad imitation of what a burn actually looks like.
...will die. Well, then everyone loses their minds.
Jordan Peterson.
Oh, that was just terrible. Maybe a little less volume. Yeah, maybe a little less.
This book begins with an examination of order and chaos, so it seems proper that mine should do the same. Though Peterson is primarily obsessed with Christian symbolism, he begins his book with a meditation on a piece of Eastern symbolism.
Peterson is retarded in that he thinks doing things like the Einstein definition, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is retarded. We've already done the retarded, let's all be imbeciles and just have some vague notion of a whip master who's going to keep us in line, instead of the idea that we all gain an understanding that we're in this lifeboat together and that we're basically shitting in each other's drinking water and all of that crap, and that maybe we have to behave like civilized people, and so we should have kind of good constitutions and all that kind of stuff just to make sure everything runs well. But we don't need any fucking morality bullshit. Just nice ethical codes. We treat each other decently, then guess what? People won't shoot each other. It does work that way.
The yin-yang symbol. He likens the dark and feminine yin to chaos and the bright and masculine yang to order.
Well, again, this is just such religious crap, isn't it? I mean, does anybody really gravitate to those kind of simple notions that we can just say, women dumb, men smart, women weak, men strong? Is that really, is that frickin' tic-tac-toe stuff really? If we're that stupid, then just declare it idiocracy and blow it up. Well, blow it up anyway, but I just mean, it's just stupid.
This is Peterson's personal read of this symbol, not the traditional Taoist take on yin and yang, which holds to the notion that both of these essential forces of existence emerged from the creative fires of...
Who the fuck could care? Yes, the magic volcano made it. Oh, okay, that's really cool. I love magic volcano stories.
Chaos, and each represent their own form of order, especially when placed in conjunction with one another.
Right. Poo goes with piss, and when you mix them together, it's wonderful. Oh, wait a minute. Well, maybe if you vomit on those two, it'll... No, that doesn't work either. No yin and yang there. It looks like it's all fucking yang, huh?
As we examine the yin-yang symbol, we notice that in yin, there is a speck of yang.
Alright, so why don't you just put the tree of knowledge as a video, and we can just make everything metaphorical to that Christmas tree. Why don't you use a Christmas tree where, like, Santa can hop around it and give you a little... An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Do unto others as you have others do unto you. Ah, see, but that's a good one. The apple one is even a good one. Yeah, no yin and yang there either. Those are two goodies.
In yang, a speck of yin. Peterson interprets this aspect of the symbol as saying that within chaos there is the potential for order to emerge, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's just illogical mush. So again, order emerges because there's a mechanism that makes it emerge. It doesn't do it on its own. There has to be something built into the board, the checkerboard, that the checkers can play. If there's chaos and the checkers don't have to be on a square, all of a sudden the game goes completely to hell. And you don't get any order. You don't get any construction. You have to do things, you know, you have to put paint on your paintbrush, or you're not painting. It's just, there's rules to productivity and order and efficiency. There's rules to those things, and you can't have them by just saying, well, I'll just throw my garbage out my window and it will automatically clean itself.
But in fact, the intent behind the symbol was to show that darkness and light are inexorably connected, in the same way that front and back are opposites.
So this just sounds like another religion. So instead of some stupid Christian metaphors, we're going to have Yangy metaphors. Oh, how fucking special. From the Yang volcano. Great.
Yet they are connected because everything that has a front has a back. Up and down are opposites, yet they are connected because everything that has a top has a bottom.
Ah, right. So therefore, we need chaos because chaos has in it K and os. And when they combine, we have chaos. Great. That's great. Special. I get it. Marvelous.
Darkness and light are similarly connected in Taoist philosophy. I don't personally subscribe to this notion because...
Well, then why'd you go on all this gibberish for? Then why are we doing this? Let's start with an insipid metaphor for existence instead of actually starting with something like evolution or something, you know, something real.
Darkness can certainly exist without light. In fact, being without light is the very definition of darkness. But the point is still taken. It's as my friend, author Howard Bloom, is fond of saying, opposites are joined at the hip. In philosophy, this is called dialectical monism, or dualistic.
Yeah, and you keep calling these things something other than religion, but they're all religion, okay? That's religious talk. That's not philosophy. That's mush. That's one of those, like, you know, transcendent bibble babbles, multiversey kind of stuff.
Monism, the notion that reality exists as a unified whole, but human perception, or perhaps some other force, splits existence into a series of dichotomies.
Oh, what the fuck? I mean, it's just so stupid. The only dichotomy is in the fact that, in the sense that there's obvious, you could say there's the self-interest and the social interest. And the two things should be and could be made symbiotic in their relationship, or they can be incredibly parasitic. The society can parasite the individual, and the individual can just parasite on the society. There's no duality built into it. We make them opposites by not recognizing we can make the two merge into one. But there's no chaos involved. You're not mixing chaos plus something. You're not doing something with chaos to make something. It has nothing, it has to do with the fact that you're recognizing, like an engine that isn't running right, you're recognizing the obvious, that we have a mechanism where these two things, the society and the individual, aren't maximizing the potential of their relationship, and they're leaving a lot of waste, creating a lot of waste and noise, and that you can fix it. What does that have to do with chaos?
The reason that yin and yang are in such balance, and the reason they each contain a seed of...
So this whole idea, like I have to, the reason why God has such shiny slippers, he's using a premise that's completely some idiotic notion that there's any such thing as a yin or a yang, that anything is made of yin-yangy, that anything is this kind of mutually functional dualism, when it's all just perceptual, jargony bullshit. It doesn't have any merit as a scientific understanding of reality. There's no fundamental physical principle of yin and yang. I could argue the whole universe is a push universe, and pull is just a byproduct of applying push in a different way. There is no yin and yang.
Their opposite is to show us that the separation between them is nothing but an illusion. Darkness and light in Taoism are not opposite forces, but two pieces of one force working in beautiful tandem with one another.
And it's silly. Again, another, I mean, why are we starting with all these magical premises about, Goldilocks and her, porridge-eating bears?
But as George Carlin pointed out on his 14th album and 8th HBO special, Jammin' in New York, we should leave symbols to the symbol-minded. The Taoist interpretation of the yin-yang symbol...
So he just did all of this symbolism, and then he says, fuck it. So, great. That's an example of chaos. Chaos is you make a pie and you throw it in the fucking toilet. I mean, yes, you're going to throw it in there eventually, but you throw it in before it is processed in any other way.
Symbol is no more relevant than Peterson's interpretation or my own. It's just a symbol. It doesn't necessarily contain any greater truth about reality.
Oh, I hate this so far. I just fucking hate it. I hate it. Stop it. Do something better.
The best it can claim to do is promulgate reflection on certain aspects of existence. Introspections that will perhaps come to worthwhile conclusions or set of conclusions, but could just as likely lead only to...
Can't you just do it with facts? I mean, can't you just do like an order of facts? Right? Like water's wet. Water can conduct heat pretty good through that wetness. Don't get wet when it's cold because it'll conduct all the heat out of you. I mean, can't you do like an ordered process of logic here? Do you have to do this chaos thing when you're trying to explain how something works? Because it really doesn't go, right? If you have the instructions for something and they give you the last step first, it's really not going to work. Just saying. Vice and such.
Folly. In Peterson's case, his interpretation strikes me as absolutist and almost childish.
Yes, he's like, he's still like he's 12 or something. He's and an imbecile. 12 and an imbecile. A religious imbecile. He seems like a real mama's boy to me. I mean, screams it. Like you could just see him run into his mommy every time. Oh, it's getting my knee.
I've said before that Peterson is
Mommy will kiss it and make it better stuff, you know. Mommy kissed him a little too much.
deceptively subtle, but there's nothing subtle about his take on yin and yang, or his take on order and chaos for that matter. He truly is among the ranks of the symbol-minded folks that...
Okay, you're just being ad hominem here, okay? You're just not getting... I mean, it's like you could just say, you're obviously fat, you know, and you didn't clean your fat room, you know, whatever, you know. He's just make some obvious examples of you. You can't even handle a, you know, frickin' razor and shit.
George Carlin warned us about. Though Peterson does occasionally in his books pay lip service to the power of chaos and even alludes to ways in which chaos and order work in tandem.
Oh dear, then he's even a bigger imbecile than I already thought he was, because yeah, that's really stupid. I mean, chaos is always not valuable. It doesn't fix anything ever. Ever, 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 ever is it the way to fix something. Like all the books, like how-to books in the world, you know, how to fix your roof, how to do this, how to... None of them say, start with some chaotic thinking and maybe do some chaotic exercises. None of them start that way.
For the most part, he is obsessed with drawing a line in the sand between the two concepts and taking a moral stance on each of them. The title of his book tells you as much, as it purports to be an antidote to chaos. Listen to the way he describes order in the introduction, or overture, as he calls it.
Oh, yes. I mean, really. Alright, so because Peterson isn't very good with words, and he's misidentified the real problem, which isn't chaos, but stupidity. Stupidity is kind of like chaos, but it's not the same thing. Ignorance is kind of like chaos, but not the same thing, right? It's just a lack of enough knowledge to be able to create order and then be productive. But the idea that the thing that makes stupid and ignorant like chaos is that it's completely ineffective at doing anything useful. Stupid and ignorant is useless, as is chaos. Fuck.
To his book. Order is where people around you act according to well-understood social norms and remain predictable and cooperative. It's the world of social structure, explored territory, and familiarity. And here's how he describes chaos.
First off, the voice was, you know, a little distracting, but I mean, that's all you're going to do is that 2 sentences, and I'm supposed to understand his theme? I don't quite get it. Sorry. Not enough.
Chaos. Chaos, by contrast, is where or when something unexpected happens. Chaos is what emerges when you suddenly find yourself without...
So even the word unexpected, right? Isn't that what ignorance does, right? Ignorance makes people not understand that, you know, having a bald tire on their car is dangerous, or, you know, lots of things, because they don't understand the probabilities. They don't understand the likelihoods. They don't understand the statistics, right? You can give people the statistics. Being a big, fat... Oh, sorry. All right, never mind those statistics. Being a pothead... Oh, yeah, never mind those statistics. Drinking too... No, never mind those statistics. But anyway, yeah, I mean, stupid is, as stupid does, because stupid is a lack of order, a lack of understanding that there's hierarchies of reasonableness. And if you don't have the knowledge, you can't get to the point where you're making the most of your capacity. The engine runs the best. The better you understand the engine, the better you can make the engine run. Simple. A really simple argument. I think it just wipes out this whole conversation, really. So the rest of this video is completely unnecessary. Everything good that happens in the world happens because somebody who knows what they're doing and understands the thing they're manipulating manipulates it well. it never works to have somebody chaos drive your bus or chaos drive your train or chaos doing anything fucks it up. There's always a best way to do it. And only lazy people say, chaos works for me. It's for lazy people and stupid people. So if there was a curve between lazy and stupid, and you had a maximum chaos line, that would be it. But it's just maximizing two really lousy human qualities. Way to go, TJ.
Employment or are betrayed by a lover. These sentiments are hammered home again and again in his book. Order equals goodness and stability. Chaos equals badness and uncertainty.
Right, and the argument really is intelligence and stupidity. And we know intelligence goes with honesty and evidence and facts and knowledge, and stupidity goes with lazy and selfish and I don't want to do the work. Well, it's always lazy and selfish. You really can't make it out of anything else. But yeah, that's how you stay ignorant in this world now. The world is full of knowledge to be grabbed, and you really just have to be fucking lazy, not to grab it.
He makes occasional exceptions to this otherwise rigid dichotomy, but the prevailing narrative is one of simplistic caveman logic. Order good, chaos bad.
Right, intelligence good, idiocracy bad. I mean, it is that clear, and it's just so ironic that somebody would attempt to defend lazy chaos over rational efficiencies. So, I mean, he complains about the world quite often, and the mess that the world is, the state that it's in. And it's in that state because of the chaos, not because of the order. The order hasn't fucked the world. The disorder has. And so that's a real complaint. Jordan Peterson's solution is retarded because we've already been there and done that, and it doesn't work. I mean, stupid memes to live by, stupid axioms of do it for the good of the Holy One in the clouds kind of nonsense has nothing to do with the fact that human beings can have a better axiom, which is recognize that we're embarrassing ourselves. Do it so we don't look like such assholes when the aliens get here. Do it so they don't laugh themselves to death. Save our dignity, please. Don't be an imbecile. That should be the meme.
Let me present you with a very different notion of what order and chaos
I'm going to speed this up a little because it's long and it's not very good. Yeah, so I'll speed up a little.
are. One that is more in line with what the Taoists intended with their yin-yang.
So he's going back to it again. He's going to go back to some archaic metaphor, some totem pole theory of living, some hieroglyphics diagram of reality. Let's go back to the ancients, and they knew that don't throw two square rocks against a round holy bowl or something. I mean, some superstitious crap. So let's use superstitious crap as the foundation for a rational conversation about what human beings need to do to up their game. What do we need to do to make this human race thing into something really cool instead of something really fail?
Symbol. Not that it really matters. Before we begin, it should be noted that concepts as broad as these often boil down to subjective interpretation.
Right, you're just a fucking sadomasochist by definition. Your motives are completely self-interested. You like gore, bloods, failure. You probably laugh your ass off at failure videos. You love watching people break their arm doing something stupid. I mean, clearly you're entertained by mess and slop and stink. You like it. You probably have actually eaten shit. So why you should not even be allowed to talk about a rational conversation about what's good for human beings, because you're not really one of us. You're some other kind of critter. You don't really fit any of the categories of 99% of human beings who don't actually eat shit on purpose.
One man's order is another man's chaos. That's why I chose to precede this chapter with a line from Heath Ledger's Joker.
Oh, he's always preceding everything with somebody who's a turd. I mean, but okay, whatever. Where's your Manson quote? I guess that'll come up sooner or later.
Written by Jonathan and Christopher Nolan in their Saturn Award-winning screenplay for The Dark Knight. I think
The Saturn Award-winning screenplay. Blah, 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 blah. The Saturn Awards. There were Saturn Awards? Wow. Yeah. So that's really reaching, isn't it? I mean, the screenplay really was crap. I mean, it's crap. I mean, the whole plot of the movie is just one big flaw. None of it makes any sense at all. I mean, every single scene is preposterously plot flawed. The way stuff blows up, the way this happens, every single interaction makes absolutely no sense. It could never possibly ever happen in the real world. Not one scene could possibly happen if you constructed it. It would never happen that way. Anyway, go on. Go, whatever. Talk glowingly about your poo.
you'll find that subjectivity is among the major themes of this book, and order and chaos are subjective in many of the ways they impact human life. Now, this doesn't mean that there's no objective notions of order and chaos.
Yes, that's right. And that 999% of the frickin' chaos in the world is quite dissectable as objectively. It doesn't have anything to do with a subjective problem. It has to do with, recognizing the difference between somebody who did something for a selfish reason and somebody who did something because they thought about it first.
Chaos, however, it simply means that order and chaos are terms that can be defined subjectively or objectively depending on the context.
All right, well, that's just idiotic, right? I mean, order, or you can't subjectively describe order. It's by definition. I mean, the whole definition is made out of the word like structure and rules and, to say it's subjective is to say, the color black or something is subjective. It's really not, as a identifier of something being different than red. You can't make them both the same color. We know that's one of the rules. Red isn't black. It's just a fact. So to say a word like order isn't connected to words like fact, it's just silly. It's not a subjective concept. It's not. You're not allowed, to say, what's a good one to say? Two parallel lines aren't parallel. Subjectively. I subjectively declare them not parallel, even though they're parallel lines. You can't do that logically.
Objective chaos is most easily defined as randomness. That which has no pattern.
Right, and everything has a pattern. We just can't see the pattern sometimes. Even your background image here, you can see the pixels of it. You can see that it's squares. You can see that it was originally a swirled diagram. So it was first swirled, and then it was cut into cubes, and then the cubes were moved around. It's completely dissectable, the chaos. It has clues. Now, some patterns, we're not going to have the technology to be able to pull it out of it. But you can even do it with computers. Computers can't create a real random, and you can find the defect. You can find that defect in the computer by just creating a program that causes something big enough to be randomized, and you'll start seeing lines. You'll start seeing patterns, because a computer can't do anything random.
No rules, no method. A Jackson Pollock painting is chaos. The paint is spattered about at random, non-representation.
Well, again, like I said, nothing happens at random. So this is just an example of how he doesn't really understand how reality works. That there is no spontaneous and there is no random. Nothing happens with everything's cause and effect, and every cause isn't a random cause. It's a cause with a cause with a cause with a cause, and there's a specific trail of causes, just like the lineage of your family. There, it might look like somebody fucked a wildebeest, but unless we can find the wildebeest and find the genetics, it might just look that way. There's real causes that makes us, and that creates any outcome. So even though the painting looks sloppy, disordered, you could say, it has disorder, it's never truly chaos.
Depicting nothing in particular, and created without any regard for composition or form.
So those are all lies anyway, because that's not what Pollock did anyway. I mean, he had a lot of ideas about what he intends the expression to become.
Nitpickers might point out at this point that
Yes.
this was only during Pollock's drip period, and that some other eras of his work did place more emphasis on composition and representation, to which I can only exasperatedly sigh, fine. But here we're...
Well, good, it's your bad analogy, and then you complain when somebody points out it's a pretty bad analogy. Couldn't you come up with a better analogy? Why don't you just use the person who decides to use a shotgun to blow their brains onto the canvas and just say, well, yes, now that's pretty disordered. That's a lot of order turned into disorder. So it's a real good example of chaos. Because you took something really structured and you turned it into something really unstructured. That would have been a much better metaphor, or analogy.
talking about the iconic drip and spatter style of painting that he made famous.
So now he creates his own straw man, creates his own rhetorical commenter, his own heckler, and then he's going to spend a half an hour responding to his own created heckler. I mean, a straw heckler.
And that made him famous. Objective order is the opposite. It is predictable, deliberate, and has a definable pattern, a method, a discernible structure. A Leonardo da Vinci painting is order. The paint is carefully arranged on the canvas to create a composition that represents the subject of the painting in a recognizable way. Like no one looks at the Mona Lisa and says...
Right, and we're just talking about what do you want, how do you want to design the structure of our civilization? Do you want it to be brains blown out on a canvas, or do you want it to be a Da Vinci or a Rembrandt? Duh. I mean, so he is really attempting to defend that when somebody makes a commentary on our social structure, he's going to defend the position that society should put a gun to its head and blow its whatever brain it has onto a canvas as a solution, rather than try to be inspired, okay, to perfect, okay, to engineer a piece of perfection.
What the hell is this supposed to be? It's a woman wearing an enigmatic smile, and human beings with eyes and a few brain cells can cobble that information together. But we're not really here to talk about objective order and chaos. We're here to talk about the subjective ways these concepts enter into our lives and how...
Right, and so he's using all these subjective metaphors and implying that they have something to do with objective structure, like making the car work better. Making the car work better has nothing to do with any subjective quality. No subjective thing is going to make you a better mechanic. It's just stupid to think so. There isn't even much intuition that's going to get the job done. You really need to have something called knowledge and understanding of the mechanism. No chaos is going to make it happen.
One man's order is another man's chaos, and vice versa. I think you'll find that this proposition is a great deal more difficult and complicated than just laying the blame for everything bad that happens in your life at the feet of chaos.
I don't think that's what people are doing. They're blaming structure that's broken structure. So I'm not blaming chaos because you're a selfish cunt, and I'm not blaming chaos that you're too ignorant to understand the concept that selfishness isn't win for a society, that the lifeboat doesn't win when it has a big fat selfish whale in it, that lifeboat life isn't going to work out too well.
And crediting everything good to order, as Peterson too often does. One of Peterson's examples of chaos is finding yourself suddenly unemployed. But perhaps to the employer who fired you, this represents order. Perhaps your former boss is saying, I'm glad we fired that lazy son of a bitch. Now we can get the company back on track. You know, to you, this decision is chaos, representing
I don't think that's much of a reach. I don't think Peterson actually thinks the cause is chaos. He's, I think, attempting to argue that many things happen to us. We might get cancer or something. Well, we really don't waste our time blaming our parents for giving us bad genetics or doing this or doing that, looking for causes. We just accept it as kind of a basket of luck. We're entered in a lot of lotteries, and a lot of bad lotteries. Like you have a chance to get ALS, and you have a chance to get this, and a chance to that, and chance. And when you win one of those bad lotteries, yeah, you feel like, well, how did I get that ticket? You know, that's pretty amazing. I got a 1 in a million chance, and I won. Well, the truth is, though, is you're entered in a million lotteries, so that kind of chaos, it looks like chaos. Like, how could I possibly be 1 in a million, right? There's no, like, I'm 1 in a million. I'm not even wearing a I'm 1 in a million shirt. I'm not even wearing one. How do I get the 1 in a million bad news? So that seems like chaos. Clearly it's not, though, because you can understand, oh, I was entered in 1 million stinking, lousy, rotten lotteries, and of course I won one of them.
Financial and other personal uncertainties. To your employer or your former employer, this decision is order, representing the potential for a more prosperous and better staffed business. Peterson also likens chaos to being betrayed by a lover. But perhaps from that lover's perspective, this is a stride towards order. Perhaps he or she is saying, I've finally taken my life back from that controlling narcissist, and now I can finally be happy again. To you, the breakup...
All right, so this really doesn't make any sense at all, because I don't think Peterson's theme, okay, is to say that the answer, okay, to any problem is injecting chaos. Isn't that the point? Chaos isn't a solution. Whether or not chaos is a cause of problems is a separate subject, isn't it? So you're trying to argue that his statement that chaos isn't the solution and that we have to use something more ordered as a solution. So you're not even getting the theme of the book at all, because he's really not talking about the origin of bad causes, unfortunate causes. He's talking about are unfortunate facts of life. I mean, he concedes that life sucks, which is ironic. He just thinks we should, you know, suck it up and take a bullet for no good reason. But whatever. Go continue. I just don't think you're getting it. Yeah, that's it. I don't think player A knows exactly what the hell's going on in this game, Jim. What do you think? Well, as the color commentator, I gotta say he's got a really fat ass. Yeah, look at that thing go. Jiggle, jiggle. I should have done it all like that.
Might represent the sorrow of the ending, but to your lover, it may represent the thrill of a new beginning, the chance to establish a better order in their lives. Perhaps in both of these examples, the contrast is not...
Boy, probably a shot as his ex-girlfriend, right? That smells just like a... Yeah, I'll throw that in just to shove something up her vagina, that bitch. You can sort of just smell that happening, can't you? And the next relationship, and the next, and the next. Of course, there'll be others because he's going to roll over someday, and he's going to, all her guts will pop out of her ears, and that'll be the end of this.
Really so much between your chaos versus their order, but your harmful chaos versus their beneficial chaos. But we'll get more into that in a moment. From an even broader perspective, being fired by a company or being dumped in a relationship are both part of a larger structure of order. A company that didn't have the option to fire people who wouldn't or couldn't perform their duties would be in...
All right, so he's doing the same thing Peterson's doing, right? He actually thinks just like Peterson, that we should all just accept all the crap that happens to us, and just whether we call it chaos or order, it doesn't matter. We should just keep accepting that the world is dysfunctional, and we should pretend nothing can fix it. Is that what they're both saying? Well, no. Peterson is saying God fixes it, which is bullshit, because we've already been there, done that, didn't work. And TJ's saying paying no attention fixes it. walking away there. That's sort of like chaos. Chaos is just kind of like walking away. that's the most chaotic ingredient you can put in the pie mixture is nothing, right? Sort of.
Actual chaos. A company must be free to fire those who cannot perform their job duties adequately, because otherwise they're at the mercy of bad.
It's amazing that he's defending the idea that a lot of people get fired merely because in 3 years they're going to get a full pension, and the company doesn't want to pay their full pension. I mean, he's not even recognizing that a lot of people get fired because they do the job for 20 years and they get a bad back and they're not quite as good at it anymore. All kinds of really sinister reasons that people get fired. And he's talking like some defender of the corporation here. Really puke-worthy.
Employees. So the ability to fire people is built into the structure, the order, of every company on Earth, because it's an absolutely vital ability to have if you want a stable
and again, Peterson would agree with you 100%. So here he is critiquing the guy, and he's agreeing with him 100%. Peterson would say, yes, of course. I was just talking how it affects the person's life. They become habituated to something, to having a paycheck and to having power in their life, and all of a sudden all their power is taken away by a force they couldn't stop or control or understand. It surprises them, and now their life is in disorder. He's talking about the disorder created by losing your job. He's not talking about disorder causing to lose their job. He's talking about the disorder, the dysfunction of your life when something falls off, your arm falls off. Your life is a little bit fucked up. I mean, I've sort of been there and did that for a year. Yeah, it's pretty fucking disordering.
Prosperous business. A worker who cannot perform his or her duties is a detriment. The ability to fire people is not a byproduct of chaos.
I can't believe this fucking idiot gets any, people can tolerate this jerk in the sense that, I mean, this is really irritating. He's going on and on and on about how corporations have a right to treat us like shit. I mean, amazing bullshit. Because he's never had a real job. He just dupes suckers to pay him to say crap that basically is saying, yes, corporations have a right to treat you like shit. So people working shitty jobs, washing dishes in some raggy restaurant that's just going to fire them rather than give them a raise, and they're giving their money to this turd. Fuck. I mean, he's... way to go, TJ. You fooled me. He's doing chaos, you see? He took what would have been the rational argument and the sensible one, and he completely fucked it up, like this background. And he's just talking complete backward and upside down shit, because he's fooling us. He's showing us what chaos looks like and how stupid it looks. Ah, brilliant. Oh, man, you totally fucked me with that. Total brain fuck. You win. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You're trying to sound like a complete imbecile. Ah, brilliant. Brilliant. Way to go. More corporate talk. Yeah, talk some more about how corporations are really cool and they're smart and they do things for really cool reasons.
But a pillar of order. Of course, to the person being fired, it is chaos. They had a job and a steady paycheck to rely on, and now they don't have those things any longer. They might begin to wonder with some alarm, where's their next meal going to come from and how their bills are going to be paid.
And I would surmise that's exactly what Peterson was saying. I would surmise that's what he's doing. He's just trying to make people durable. Yeah, shit happens and it gets all fucked up, but here's the way to get through it. Keep your little head on the ground. I mean, your focus on your feet. One right foot, left foot, Don't tie your shoelaces together the wrong way and shit, and make sure your watch is on the right way and shit, and everything will be okay. Do all the buttons right. Don't have any buttons uneven and shit, and everything will be okay then. If you do those simple things, it'll all be okay. Trust me.
And how they're going to indulge in the luxuries to which they're accustomed. But meals and bills and luxuries requiring money is also part of an established order. Capitalism. The point, if you're, still not getting it, is that your personal chaos
An established order, but it's not an order that has any reasoning behind it. I mean, giving all the money to 1% of the people, letting them inherit, they don't earn it. None of that's what you would call order in the sense of a rational order. I mean, building a house exactly upside down, you know, giving the people who did nothing the most and the people who did the most the least, that wouldn't be called order. That's a kind of disorder. I mean, getting the pattern right but having it upside down is, in a sense, a kind of chaos, because you completely and fundamentally broke something integral to the straight line geometry.
chaos is often the byproduct of strictly regimented systems of order, which raises the question, does this work in the opposite direction as well? Personal chaos can be a symptom of larger order, so can personal order also be a symptom of larger chaos? Well, let's ask those situated in the heart of the military-industrial complex who make vast personal fortunes from exploiting the chaos of war. Let's ask those rare souls who have won their fortunes in games of random chance.
Those are corporations, by the way. The military-industrial complex is essentially all corporate money. I mean, any of the money that goes to a government official is really just a kickback. So, you know, it's all corporations skimming that money. The ones you just defended as being ordered.
It's like the lottery. Let's ask those authors who see the chaos of the modern world and write books claiming to be the antidote to chaos, and who subsequently make a fortune off the disheartened and disenfranchised, who seek a remedy to the personal chaos that has engulfed their lives.
Wow. So he's talking about this guy as if he's a parasite, and, you know, like TJ is the biggest parasite on YouTube. I mean, it's not a, you know, if look, you really randomly went to all the YouTube people that have been on YouTube for a while and you said, who's the biggest parasite on YouTube? You don't think TJ be in the top 10? Come on, for sure.
Clever exploiters and lucky dupes alike have been the benefactors of chaos since the dawn of man, and probably before that as well. But that's only the most superficial way.
Yes, it's really silly to have a conversation about how the system works for the 0.01%. Of course, the 0.01% are doing very well, but the argument has the axiomatic premise that we're talking about the system working. We're not talking about what's happening to one molecule in the boiling pot. We're talking about what's happening to most of the molecules in the boiling pot, or in a net sense, how much horror for how much comfort, and whether we have a satisfactory balance of pain to gain.
Which human beings have benefited from chaos. Life itself has climbed a ladder of chaos to reach new heights of order. Even Peterson is forced...
Again, that's just more nonsense. I mean, everything that does happen is cause and effect, and the rules of evolution are not chaotic. They're rules. They're order enforcers. They force outcomes, essentially. So it's silly to say that has something to do with chaos. There's just no chaos in it. It's a mechanism, a solid mechanism. I mean, it's a Rube Goldberg machine. Only somebody kind of stupid thinks it's chaos. It's physics. There's no chaos in it. It's cause and effect. Very ordered cause and effect. The Rube Goldberg device is highly engineered. Very strict tolerances, or it doesn't work.
To concede this in his first chapter, where he probes the depths of evolutionary psychology rather expertly in what I consider to be the best and least infantile part of his book. One of the principal engines of evolution is random genetic mutation.
I suspect that the only reason why he likes it is because Peterson is some kind of eugenicist, and I think TJ is similarly disposed to think there are superior people from because they have great genes, not because they look superior or behave superior, but they're just superior. And everybody has to just concede it.
You know, genes are not supposed to mutate. They're supposed to perfectly replicate themselves in a predictable manner. And 29,999,999 times out of 30 million, they do. But 1 in every 30 million times during the passing of genes from one generation to the next, a baseline pair mutates. This means that there are about 100 to 200 new mutations from one generation of humans to the next.
Right. I don't know if anybody needs to know the exact number of wrong turns, because a piece of arsenic was stuck to the, a little piece of heavy metal got stuck to the outside of the DNA molecule and it replicated wrong. I mean, I don't know if we all need to know exactly how many particles of radioactivity or some other kind of bullshit fucked up a copy. It's clearly the mechanism, though. We understand that there are errors, and most of the errors are not to the benefit of the organism that gets them. Most of the errors, by a huge proportion, are a detriment to the function of the new organism, but rarely they're an improvement, and that's evolution. Yeah, but that's, I don't know, I mean, it seems to me that would be a chapter that's, I don't know how you really connect that directly into philosophy. I don't think you need to understand how the DNA molecule replicates to understand that it replicates by a mechanism that, although you're saying it's dependent on events of low probability, again, to call them random would be to cheat the truth. Just as it would be stupid to say the eggs of birds got thin in the 1970s by a random cause, when no, we know it was the DDT.
The vast majority of these mutations are neutral mutations that have neither negative nor positive effects on the organism they occurred within. Other mutations...
Well, that, I would say, is kind of a silly thing to say, because unless you want to concede that most of our genetic code has no use. So most of the code in the DNA is artifactual. It doesn't do anything anymore. It's completely useless, and the fact is that if you were to think of the DNA as a hard drive, the difference between a real hard drive and our DNA is the operating system doesn't remove the deleted files. It leaves them there. It just kills that space and it just jumps over it. It just doesn't do anything with it. It's not relevant to the creation anymore. It's just dead bits. So some of the dead bits mutate, but that doesn't really matter because they're dead.
Are harmful and cause genetic disorders like cystic fibrosis or hereditary cancers. Other mutations are beneficial and actually lead to an organism being better adapted to its environment. And without beneficial mutations, the process of evolution would be impossible. In other words, without the chaos of certain genes...
Well, see, again, but it's not chaos, and the reason why those negative things exist is because they came with a positive thing. So that's the catch. Usually if there's a change like cystic fibrosis or something, it's not because it was by itself. It was a hunk of code that was connected to other code that's very beneficial. And, you got to take the bad with the good, unfortunately.
Failing to replicate themselves accurately, the higher orders of life that exist in abundance today would not be possible. If genes never yielded to chaos and always replicated themselves perfectly, then life never would have evolved beyond its most primitive state.
All right, so he thinks this is applicable to, like, we can take that metaphor and use it. So we should have, like, in the Oval Office of the President, there's a bunch of memos, like nuclear war, kiss the babies, lifetime achievement awards for cats, different kind of proposals. And we should chaotically pick every now and then which one we're going to do. And that somehow will be smart, or we should work for. I mean, obviously this idea of we're going to roll some bones or something, create some sort of random generator to make decisions for us that we know we can make better than a rock, okay, or a dice. I know I'm smarter than a dice. So it'd be really dumb to let a dice make any decisions when I could make the decision. I can't help but be smarter than a fucking dice. And so all you're really saying is there's circumstances where the problem is so complex or so nuanced and in a bunch of mistaken notions of ignorance or something else that our smart decision can't be smart because it's still stupid. It's only half. It's only smart by half. It's not smart by a whole. And so we can't do the job. We can't. I'd like the metaphor to like a bus driver's reaction skills or something about, an animal jumps in front of the bus and his calculation to figure out whether he should avoid hitting the animal or whether he should run over the animal. And the fact is, those are really hard decisions to calculate. And so in some sense, rolling a dice or having the human make the decision will lead to the same outcome in terms of a probabilistic good or bad. But it's rarely going to be a better solution. Chaos, a dice is never going to do it better than us. We might fail just as bad as if we rolled the dice, but it's really unlikely, unless you're an imbecile, that we can't add value to the decision. We'll at least add something to the decision, and that something is better than nothing. Chaos offers nothing in terms of intelligence. It's always a moron. We sometimes can be brilliant. Chaos is never brilliant. It's only lucky. And luck is going to happen with or without chaos.
A prokaryotic cell more primitive than any that exists today. Little more than a bit of RNA floating around in a lipid membrane. Basically a self-replicating soap bubble filled with genetic material.
This is kind of amazing. TJ talking as if he knows something about biology. Oh, sorry.
The title of this book, The Order of Chaos, sounds like a contradiction, but it isn't. Order owes a great debt to chaos because chaos can do something that order cannot do. It can pull off the great material miracle of creation.
Oh, really? So he thinks that creative people are not doing thought and construction and order. Like if I'm a cartoonist or something with 30 years experience, that I don't become a very good artist because of that experience. The experience is what's making me a great artist, because I'm learning tricks. I'm learning ways to manipulate the contrast and manipulate how the eye travels across the art. They're all tricks, TJ. This idea that creativity comes out of chaos, you just made that up, because it doesn't. And that's why often a lot of creative people are really smart people. A lot of smart people are creative people, and they're talented. There's not too many complete imbeciles who are great artists. The two things don't go together, chaos and creativity. You have to be smart to be a good creator.
The Taoists were correct when they said that yin and yang and all the dichotomies they represent were born out of the creative fires of chaos. Earlier...
So he said he didn't believe any of that bullshit. Now he said, no, they were right, though. It is just like the volcano god. Reality is like a volcano god. He's doing the duality thing right in front of us. Oh yeah, I'll say one thing, and then I'll say exactly the opposite. Because I'm yin and yang. Stupid and fucktarded, all by myself.
I likened a Jackson Pollock painting to chaos and a Da Vinci painting to order. And in the context of that analogy, it was accurate. But from a broader perspective,
redundant.
they are both children of chaos. You know, paintings are now part of the established order of existence. We understand them, and we understand their purpose. But there was a time, just a blink of an eye ago, on the cosmic timescale, when paintings were not part of the natural order. The first paintings were made...
I don't think they were ever part of the natural order. Everything we do intelligently is anti-natural order. It doesn't have anything to do with the genetic struggle thingy bullshit anymore. It has to, it has to do with the acquisition of knowledge. You change your behavior not because your genes change, but because your understanding changes because you go to high school or college. The slaves weren't, they were naturally stupid, and they could be unnaturally made intelligent. Clearly. Oh, I'm just so stupid.
on the walls of caves, and were made with dirt or charcoal mixed with spit or with animal fat. Dirt, charcoal, spit, animal...
Yes, right. And what were their purposes? They were to show their lives, to illustrate their reality. You know, it wasn't to do some kind of aesthetic thing. To go, ooh, what pretty colors. Ooh, isn't that nice and swirly? You know, they were concepts to them. They were the beginnings of language.
Animal fat, cave walls, all of these things existed long before human beings were even dreamed of by Mother Nature.
So again, just think about like the Egyptians and the whatever you call them, the hieroglyphics. A bunch of images representing words. A description, a physical description of reality, symbolically cut into a little square. It's a language.
They each had their own place in the natural order of the world, and if a sentient observer had existed to study them, he or she would have safely predicted what each of them would do. And what each...
Yes, only because they had such simple lives. And so it's always, you know, you could do this with children. You know, children are incredibly predictable. You know, you could do 10 kids in the room with the candid camera, and all 10 of them do the same thing because, yeah, they haven't acquired enough skill to be different yet, enough knowledge of difference to be diverse. Anyway, it's probably enough for first whack at this crap, but I could go on, but I am getting tired. And how many minutes have I used up? It looks like an hour, so yeah, that's plenty. I don't know if this will be worth a part 2. I thought it would be a little more interesting than this to get to something real, like some real example of how chaos really works somewhere in some sort of real circumstance in any part of our social system. Chaos can't possibly be the missing ingredient. You know, all we need is a little chaos and everything will be all right. I mean, that is an insane proposition. Clearly, an insane proposition. So, this is idiot versus moron, no doubt. Evil versus evil. Shit versus shittier. Something like that, maybe. So anyway, till next time. Such. So forth and whatnot. Mostly.